Sending your little one off for elementary school for the first time, wondering how to set them up for success and when to be concerned about potential separation anxiety. Today's episode is all for you.
Welcome to the Beehive Doc Talks with Dr. Blair Rolnick. As a pediatrician and mother herself, Dr. Rolnick is here to answer your most pressing parenting questions and guide you through the tough spots.
Welcome back to Be Kind Pediatrics. For those of you new to the show, my name is Dr. Blair Rolnick. I'm a board-certified pediatrician and mom myself, and this show is all about empowering parents through evidence-based medicine. So today we're going to continue on part 2 of our series. We're talking about school avoidance and school anxiety. Last week we focused on those pre-K and kinders. Today we're going to talk all about elementary school kids. So let's dive right in. So imagine that you have your third grader and they've woken up every day for the past 3 weeks with a stomach ache. You've taken them to your pediatrician several times and they keep telling you everything is fine, but you're starting to potentially notice a pattern that this stomach ache is always happening right before school and they're feeling pretty good on the weekends. Are you thinking that it might be school-based anxiety or separation anxiety? Well, today's episode, we're going to talk all about how school-based and separation anxiety present in this elementary school age, what's normal, when to think about getting additional support, and how to help your child through this. So unlike those pre-K kinders where the separation or school-based anxiety is usually happening at the transition point like drop-off, elementary school kids are a little bit more developed. And so they're typically thinking ahead and asking the what-if questions. What if I read out loud and I sound silly? What if I'm on the playground and I don't have anyone to play with or nobody likes or wants to play with me? So the symptoms that present in elementary school kids are also very different because of that. It tends to be more somatic symptoms. So it can be things like constantly having a headache, maybe a stomach ache. So presenting with physical symptoms of anxiety or distress. It can also look like in the morning, maybe wanting some extra morning snuggles, or potentially asking a lot of questions on the way to drop off, like, will you be back to get me? When are you coming to get me? Are you going to be okay when I'm gone? Am I going to be okay when you're gone? Beyond what's kind of normal or excessive, what we call excessive kind of worrying. Definitely can present at school with frequent trips to the nurse's office with those somatic symptoms, or trying to potentially go home early frequently. Also kind of lingering near the teacher instead of wanting to engage with their peers necessarily. So again, can present totally different in this age group compared to what we typically are seeing in those pre-K and kinder children. The other kind of area you want to focus on, or where this can present, is also at bedtime with excessive worries about going to sleep and falling asleep, where they previously were having no issues going to sleep. Now they're really struggling with getting to sleep and staying asleep. So kind of bottom line here, some degree of this is definitely normal in the first couple of weeks. But if it is causing your child significant impairment or ability to function in school or enjoy their normal life, or it's going on for a really long time, more than 4 weeks, it might be time to just think about getting additional support for your child and family. So before you even think about that, what are some tips and tools that we can empower parents with to help this transition go more smoothly? First, let's talk about some parent tools, and then we'll talk about some teacher tools, because they both play a really vital role in this transition for children. You want to start thinking about preparing your child, especially if this is their second or third year and they consistently had a little bit of a hard time with the transition back to school. You want to start preparing your child well before the first day of school. So for some children, that's going to be looking like getting back on your school time routine. So transitioning off that summer maybe sleep schedule onto a more consistent schedule that they would expect to experience when they go back to school. Preparing them for school. So again, great books out there for elementary school kids about school and what to expect at school and getting them excited to go to school. Involving them in picking out all the new things. So backpacks, pencils, pens, papers, lunch boxes, helping getting them involved in making their lunch and thinking about lunch. And that leads up to the actual night before. The night before, preparing and making sure everything's laid out so that morning they can relax and kind of smoothly transition to school. So laying out their clothes, picking out first day outfits also can be a really fun and exciting way to engage kids. Prepping their lunch in their backpack and laying it all out the night before. Some schools will allow children to come into their classroom before the first day of school and meet their teacher or familiarize themselves with the school, especially if it's a new school. They transition maybe from kinder to first or to elementary school, and it's a different building. allowing them before that first day to familiarize themselves with the building, the teacher, the classroom. If your school does not allow for this, you can at least walk them to the building, show them the building from the outside, tell them this is where you're going to be going to school, and get them excited about the physical place as well. Just like those pre-K kinders, drop off, you want to keep it brief, consistent, and confident. So brief, have that brief ritual that you're going to do every time you leave your child. Project confidence. If you know that your child is safe, they will know they're safe. If you're not sure about that, they're going to feel unsure about that. And then consistent in that routine. It is really hard, both for the kinders and this age group, to not linger, but do your best to not linger and just be confident in that transition to the teacher. This is one that's kind of tricky, but try to not reinforce avoidance. So unless your child is really ill, try to not reinforce keeping them home and avoiding school. That can make it much more difficult to transition back to school. So you want to validate and reassure your child without kind of engaging in like, don't worry about this. You can say things like, I know this is hard, but I also know that you can do this. Again, if allowed, it can be nice to make use of transitionary objects. So either friendship bracelets for the both of you, or little notes in their lunchbox, or something that they can take in their backpack, like a stuffed animal that's a comfort tool to them. Praise bravery and really focus on building resilience. You want to call out when they're making an effort, not when they're being perfect. So I'm really proud that you went. I know that it was hard, or I'm super proud that you laid out your backpack for tomorrow. I know that you're nervous, and try to focus them on the fact that they are being brave and resilient. So also think about engaging your child in some extra reading that might help them with the transition. So things like The Color Monster Goes to School. And I'll put a link in the bottom for a couple of additional books that are great transition books for more elementary school kids. So now we talked about what's normal, what's not normal, potentially, how to help your child as a parent. Let's also talk about some of the things that teachers usually do to help students with this transition. So you notice most teachers will definitely focus on the drop-off. So they're going to warmly greet your child. They usually use their first name and quickly try to redirect them into another activity. That's why it's so important to try not to linger and allow the teacher to try to start that redirection. Sometimes they will identify for your child a safe person at school, especially if this is going beyond 4 weeks or seems to be particularly long a duration at school. So it might be the teacher or a school counselor or school nurse, someone that the child can check in with if they're feeling particularly worried. If they're really struggling, sometimes they'll do gradual re-exposure instead of having your child fully avoid going to school, having them start with short days or more structured days and working up to a full day. Most schools and teachers are really good at setting up a really nice, predictable routine. Routine helps children at this age feel safe and structured. They're really going to call out some of those transitions. So in 5 minutes, we're going to line up to go outside. In 5 minutes, we're going to line up and go inside. That kind of transitionary time warning. Especially in this age group, children love to be helpful. So teachers usually focus on connectivity and distraction. So for connection, they might try to pair them with another student that they already are showing a bond with, or just have school buddies in general right off the bat. For distraction, they might focus on giving your child a small responsibility like class helper, or helping today put something on the whiteboard, or they're going to be the ones in charge of the weather board today. These kinds of small responsibilities really build resilience and confidence in your child. They also often are very good at communicating with parents, like at drop-off. At pickup, they might say, if drop-off was really challenging, at pickup, they might say, hey, it took so-and-so X amount of minutes to calm down, so that they're in open communication with you as a parent, and you know that this is normal to expect, and to avoid over-worrying yourself. So bottom line, still very normal to have school-based and separation anxiety at this age. Parents and teachers working together is really the best way to set children up for success for transition back into elementary school. Focus on pairing them and calling out their bravery and praising them, consistency, routines, and setting them up for success. So that wraps up today's episode talking about separation of school-based anxiety in those elementary school children. If you've had a tactic that was particularly successful for your child, please feel free to share it with the rest of the community. Next week, we're going to talk all about those high school kids.
Thank you for watching the Beehive Doc Talks with Dr. Blair Rolnick. For more episodes and her practice, visit BeKindPediatrics.com, and don't forget to subscribe for more parenting tips wherever you get your podcasts. This information is for educational purposes only. It is not medical advice. Always seek medical advice from a qualified physician.